Ex-wife who cheated and abandoned our family. Years ago appears at my doorstep with another man's kid. Ex-wife who cheated and abandoned our family years ago shows up at my door with another man's kid, wanting to be a family again. I slammed the door in her face. Some context here. My ex-wife Lisa, 36, and I, Mark, 37, had met when we were in our mid-20s. When I was around 24, we were working at the same firm, and that's how we met. After being in a relationship for 2 years, we got married, and within 3 years of our marriage, we had 2 daughters, now 9 and 7 years old. The second pregnancy was unexpected, and she wasn't happy about it. But she didn't terminate it, even though I had told her that it would be okay with me if she did, since I didn't want to put her through anything that she didn't want. After our first daughter, things were still great between us, and we were as in love as we could be. But that changed after the second pregnancy. She became really moody and irritable, constantly picking on me or our eldest. I just figured that this was because of all the hormones and stuff and tried to make my peace with this new version of Lisa. We thought that this would change after a while, but things just got progressively worse, and my daughter and I learned to walk on eggshells around her. I was taking care of everything, even though she was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. She had quit her job of her own volition after our first kid and did all the work around the house along with taking care of our eldest while I worked. Until she got pregnant for a second time, we had to hire a housekeeper because she said that she was too tired to do the work around the house along with looking after our kids. I agreed, even though it was slightly out of our budget, since I wasn't earning enough at the time. I agreed to hire a housekeeper because I didn't want to inconvenience Lisa, especially while she was pregnant. I assumed that she would return to looking after the house and kids during the day after our second daughter was born. Also, let me just make it clear that I wasn't one of those husbands who didn't do anything around the house after coming back from work. I did whatever I could to help out, even though I used to be exhausted from working. After she gave birth to our younger daughter, I thought that she would take a few months, but then she would bounce back, and we could go back to our normal lives. But several months passed, and she showed no signs of changing. She remained just as cranky and irritable and refused to do any work around the house. She would just sit at home all day and watch television. She didn't even play with the kids or anything and would pay our neighbor to take them out to the park occasionally. I don't mean to sound resentful, but I did feel that way because I was slogging at work day and night, and she wouldn't even do the bare minimum at home. It was also proving quite expensive for me to pay for a housekeeper to do all the cooking, cleaning, and other miscellaneous household chores. I had to take care of all the other expenses as well, and I wanted to save money for our daughter's future too. That was becoming almost impossible because Lisa refused to help me out in any way. So after almost 6 months since our younger daughter's birth, I decided that we couldn't go on like this, and I had to talk to Lisa. I knew that this was going to be a difficult discussion, so I asked my parents to watch our daughters for one day, and they agreed. That day I sat Lisa down and told her that I knew she was tired after 2 pregnancies, but I needed her to help me out here and work with me. I explained to her that having a housekeeper was becoming too expensive for us, and I needed her to honor her word and go back to doing at least some of the household chores so we could renegotiate and lower the housekeeper's salary and save some money. She was opposed to the idea and said no to it instantly because she said that she was too busy watching the kids to do any of the work around the house, and that I should start earning more instead of making up excuses and blaming her for my financial condition. I tried to tell her that I was doing my best already, but she had to do her best as well if we wanted to make this marriage work. I also brought up how she wasn't really looking after the kids because, as far as I knew, she would just let them watch television with her, and they would sit with her for hours while she watched tacky reality TV. This is what the housekeeper had once mentioned to me conversationally. I soon realized that bringing that up was a huge mistake because she flared up and accused me of spying on her through the housekeeper. She went on a tirade against me after that and said that she was not going to stand this anymore, that she was done being pushed around by me and being forced to do all the work while I did nothing except sit at a desk for a few hours every day. She then told me that this was my fault, that I couldn't afford to have a housekeeper, and that it was a shame that I had to beg her to help me out since I was supposed to be the man of the house. It was all really illogical, and she was just grasping at straws to somehow make it seem like there was nothing wrong with her not doing anything all day, and I was the crazy one for expecting her to actually contribute and pull her weight around the house. We ended up getting into a massive fight, and she ended up telling me that she didn't love me anymore and that she was leaving me. I was devastated, but I was also angry because she was just throwing away our marriage like it was nothing. I couldn't believe that she would walk out on me and our kids like that, especially since I had never given her any reason to think that I wasn't fully committed to her and our family. I tried to stop her from leaving, but she was adamant, and she just packed her bags and left. I was left to take care of our daughters all by myself, and I was struggling because I was already stretched thin with work and everything else. It was really hard for me, but I knew that I had to do whatever it took to make sure that my daughters were happy and healthy. I hired a nanny to help me out during the day while I was at work, and I did whatever I could to make sure that they were taken care of and didn't feel the absence of their mother too much. It was really tough for me, but I managed to make it work, and I was proud of myself for doing so. I didn't hear from Lisa for almost a year after she left, and I had no idea where she was or what she was doing. I was just focused on taking care of my daughters and making sure that they were okay. But then one day, out of the blue, she showed up at my door with another man's kid, saying that she wanted to be a family again. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw her standing there with that kid, and I was so angry that she had the audacity to show up after everything that she had put me through. I wanted to scream at her and tell her to get lost, but I managed to keep my cool, and I just told her that I wasn't interested in anything that she had to say and that she needed to leave. She tried to argue with me and say that she had changed and that she wanted to make things right, but I wasn't having any of it. I told her that I didn't care what she wanted and that I never wanted to see her again. She started crying and begging me to forgive her, but I just slammed the door in her face and went back inside. It felt really good to finally stand up to her and tell her exactly what I thought of her. She had hurt me and my daughters so much, and I wasn't going to let her back into our lives just because she felt like it. I never thought I'd see the day when that woman, let's call her Rachel, would have the nerve to show up at my doorstep with another man's kid, thinking she could waltz back into our lives like nothing ever happened. I slammed the door so hard you could probably hear it down the block. Let me give you a little backstory. Rachel, 36, and I, 37, male, met back when we were in our mid-20s. I was grinding away at the same firm she worked at, and that's how we crossed paths. Fast forward a couple of years, we tied the knot, and before we knew it, we had 2 little girls, now 9 and 7. The second pregnancy caught us off guard, and Rachel wasn't exactly thrilled about it. She wasn't keen on having another kid, but I told her I'd support her no matter what. I even said I'd understand if she wanted to take a different route, but she decided to go through with it. After our first daughter was born, things were peachy between us, but when Rachel got pregnant again, everything went south real quick. She turned into this moody, irritable version of herself, snapping at me and our eldest daughter left and right. I chalked it up to hormones at first, but it just got worse over time. It felt like walking on eggshells around her, trying not to set her off. I was pulling double duty, picking up the slack while she was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. She quit her job after our first kid, and we had to hire help around the house when she got pregnant again. Even though it stretched our budget thin, I agreed because I didn't want to stress her out. But instead of pitching in, she'd just lounge around all day watching TV. She barely lifted a finger, let alone take care of the kids. I don't want to sound resentful, but it was frustrating. I was busting my tail at work, trying to make ends meet, while she did diddly squat at home. And with her refusing to lend a hand, the bills kept piling up. It felt like I was drowning in responsibilities while she sat on the sidelines. So after months of this, I finally sat her down for a talk. I told her we couldn't keep going like this, that we needed to find a balance. But instead of listening, she shot me down, claiming she was too busy with the kids to help out. She even had the gall to blame me for our financial struggles like it was all on my shoulders. When I brought up her neglecting the kids, she blew up, accusing me of spying on her. It turned into a screaming match, and before I knew it, she shoved me hard enough to send me crashing into the coffee table. I ended up in the ER with a bruised ego and a broken table. I told her she had to leave, that I couldn't trust her around the kids anymore. She begged for another chance, but I wasn't having it. Eventually, we settled on her moving back in with her folks and getting therapy. But even then, I wasn't sure if I could forgive her. We tried counseling, but it felt like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And just when I thought things were getting better, she dropped off the map. No calls, no texts, nothing. It wasn't until I paid her folks a visit that I caught her red-handed, cozying up to some guy in their backyard. I was livid, but I kept my cool and walked away. I blocked her on everything and focused on picking up the pieces. But then my parents dropped a bombshell DJ they'd been in cahoots with her all along. Turns out they'd been sneaking her visits with our kids behind my back, playing both sides like a bunch of snakes. I felt betrayed, not just by Rachel, but by my own flesh and blood. It was a slap in the face, realizing they'd been lying to me for months. They tried to justify it, saying they were just looking out for the kids, but I wasn't buying it. I cut ties with all of them and filed for a restraining order. Now my daughters and I are picking up the pieces, trying to move on from the mess they left behind. It's a tough road, but we're making progress, one day at a time. And as for Rachel and her little sidekick, they can stay far away for all I care. We're better off without them. The aftermath of Angela's sudden reappearance brought a storm of emotions crashing down on Mark, stirring up memories he had buried deep within the recesses of his heart. As he grappled with the turmoil of betrayal and abandonment, he found solace in the unwavering support of his friends and the steadfast companionship of his loyal dog, Buddy. Together they formed a tight-knit unit, weathering the storm of Angela's intrusion with resilience, fortitude, and unwavering determination. Mark's journey through the tumultuous waters of single parenthood was fraught with challenges, each day presenting a new obstacle to overcome. Yet amidst the chaos and uncertainty, he found moments of serenity in the simple joys of fatherhood, cherishing the laughter of his daughters and the warmth of their embraces. Together, they forged a bond stronger than steel, their love a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. In the wake of Angela's sudden departure, Mark took it upon himself to redefine his identity as a father and a provider, channeling his energy into building a stable foundation for his family. He juggled the demands of his career with the responsibilities of parenthood, his determination unwavering in the face of adversity. And though the road ahead was uncertain, he faced it head-on, armed with the unwavering conviction that he would do whatever it took to ensure his daughter's happiness and well-being. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Mark found himself slowly but surely reclaiming the shattered pieces of his heart, stitching them back together with the threads of resilience, fortitude, and unwavering determination. And though the scars of Angela's betrayal would always linger, they served as a poignant reminder of his strength and resilience in the face of adversity. With each passing day, Mark's daughters grew stronger and more resilient, their laughter ringing out like bells in the crisp morning air. Together they navigated the winding paths of life, their bond unbreakable in the face of adversity. And as they forged ahead into the unknown, they did so with heads held high, knowing that they were stronger together than they could ever be apart. And so, as the sun set on another day, Mark stood tall in the fading light, his daughters by his side, their hearts intertwined in a bond that transcended time and space. For in the end, it was love that conquered all, illuminating the darkness and guiding them home. So there I was, standing at my doorstep, staring at Angela and this little kid beside her. My mind was racing with disbelief. After all these years, she had the nerve to show up unannounced, expecting everything to just go back to the way it was. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Angela was in tears, blurting out apologies and pleading for another chance. She wanted to be a family again, as if it were her decision to make. It took me only a split second to make up my mind. I couldn't let her back into my life, not after what she did. With a firm resolve, I told her that this wasn't her family anymore. The day she cheated on me with Sean, she lost that right. The divorce wasn't just a legal formality, it was the end of us. I shut the door on her, telling her to leave my property. I refrained from unleashing a torrent of curses, thinking of the little boy beside her. Her wails echoed outside my door for a few minutes, but I ignored them, steeling myself against any emotional weakness. I tried my best to push her out of my mind, focusing on work for the rest of the day. But as soon as I got home, the phone rang. It was my parents, demanding an explanation for why I turned Angela away. They revealed they had been in touch with her all along, orchestrating this reunion behind my back. I was furious. How could they betray me like this? They believed Angela deserved another chance, that my daughters needed their mother. But I couldn't forgive them for meddling in my life without my consent. It was a breach of trust I couldn't overlook. Days passed, and the truth about my parents' collusion with Angela came to light. They had been feeding her information, even allowing secret meetings with my daughters. It was a betrayal that cut deep, leaving me feeling alone and deceived. I took swift action, filing for restraining orders against all of them. My daughters and I would no longer be pawns in their manipulative games. It was time to cut ties and move forward, even if it meant facing the unknown alone. With the legal proceedings underway, I focused on rebuilding our lives, ensuring my daughter's safety and well-being above all else. We attended family counseling sessions, slowly healing from the wounds of the past. As the dust settled, I found solace in knowing that we were free from the toxicity of the past. With each passing day, we grew stronger, forging a new path forward, one filled with hope and resilience. And though the road ahead was uncertain, I faced it with determination, knowing that together we could weather any storm. There have been significant strides in our journey toward healing and stability. The road hasn't been easy, but my daughters and I have found solace in the semblance of normalcy we've managed to carve out for ourselves. Our therapy sessions have become a cornerstone of our week, providing a safe space to navigate the complex emotions that accompany rebuilding our lives. I've marveled at the resilience of my daughters, their spirits unyielding despite the challenges they've faced. Their laughter now echoes through the halls of our home, a testament to their unwavering strength and indomitable spirit. I find myself in awe of their courage, and I am endlessly proud of the young women they are becoming. As for Angela, Sean, and my parents, the restraining order has served as a necessary boundary, offering us the peace and security we so desperately needed. The silence that has followed their departure has been a welcome reprieve, allowing us the space to heal without fear of intrusion or interference. In the midst of tending to my daughter's well-being, I've also made a concerted effort to prioritize my own self-care. Whether it's indulging in a favorite hobby or simply taking a moment to breathe, I've come to understand the importance of nurturing my own mental and emotional health. After all, I cannot pour from an empty cup, and my ability to support my daughters hinges upon my own well-being. Once again, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for the outpouring of support and encouragement we've received along the way. Your unwavering presence has been a source of strength during our darkest hours, and for that we are eternally grateful. Though the road ahead may still be uncertain, we face it with newfound optimism and a renewed sense of hope.